Am I the a-hole for filing divorce papers after I said I would? I have been married for a little over 5 years. My daughter Faith, to 2F from a previous relationship, lives with us while she finishes school. At the beginning of our relationship, my wife and Faith got on really well. However, I realized that my wife and I have very different viewpoints on parenting and handling conflict. My wife has no biological kids and came in when Faith was a teenager, so she didn't have to parent the same way she would if Faith was a toddler. We implemented some new tasks, chores, and house rules. Nothing major. Also, Faith has a small part-time job while in school and contributes towards groceries and rent. I agreed to support her as long as she was in school. My wife is OCD and conflict avoidant, which plays out as she gets upset when things aren't done exactly when and how she thinks they should be. For example, she complains or yells about Faith not unloading the dishwasher or not taking out the trash right that moment. But instead of addressing the issues with Faith directly, she asks me to do it despite the fact that I've told her multiple times that she can and should speak to Faith. I end up enabling the behavior by telling Faith the list of complaints, and she corrects them for the most part, with the occasional slip-up here or there. Rinse and repeat. But then my wife started complaining to any of her friends who would listen about how I wasn't tough enough on Faith and how lazy and entitled she is. I very recently discovered that not only has she been basically shit-talking her and putting her down, but also telling people that I am a terrible parent who raised a spoiled kid. Yelling in her face and treating her like garbage is not a parenting plan. Last year it got to a point where it had it and flipped on everybody. I told Faith to get herself together and save up for an apartment, but I also told my wife that ID had enough of how she talked to and about everybody in the house, and that she needed anger management or therapy, and if she was unwilling to do that, I would absolutely file for divorce. Fast forward to a few days ago. After last year's blow-up, my wife has taken to not speaking to Faith unless she has to. The other night we got in an argument, and my wife basically admitted she hated Faith. She went so far as to call her a few choice names and say that she, my wife, would not be attending any holiday or family gatherings where Faith would be because she didn't want to be around her. Needless to say, I was stunned. I admit I knew their relationship was still strained, but figured they'd work it out as adults, which is what ID asked them to do. As soon as we got home, I immediately went upstairs and printed out divorce papers. I told my wife I would be filing this week and left the forms for her to sign. All of our finances and things have always been separate, and while my wife works full-time, I handle 99% of the household expenses, so it should be a fairly quick process. This morning my wife sent me a text saying she didn't want a divorce and thought I was overreacting. I reminded her that she was told a year ago that if she didn't get counseling or learn how to better self-manage, she thinks she doesn't need therapy, and I just can't see her point of view, and that makes me a terrible parent apparently, that I would file for divorce. I also reminded her that I've always been a person of my word, so I don't know why she thought I wasn't serious about it. She called me an a-hole and said I was probably planning it all along. I wasn't. I promise this is very much the nuclear option. I love my wife, but I told her she's essentially making me choose between her and my kid, and that is a dick move. Even if Faith moves out, which she's planning to do anyway, I don't see the problem going away. Thank you if you've read this far. I'm holding the papers until Friday, when I can go handle it in person, and I still need her to sign a page. But before I blow up my marriage, I want some outside judgment on whether I'm the a-hole for going this route after warning her I would. Etha, so I don't have to keep posting it, but Faith isn't moving because of an ultimatum. Am not kicking her out? She's continuing her education at a school 40 minutes away. She wants to move closer to the school. Am I the a-hole for expecting my parents to find alternative care for my brother instead of expecting me to become his full-time caregiver eventually? My parents give my younger brother 14 full-time care. He was born with a muscular problem as well as extreme developmental issues. He can't do anything for himself and needs to be watched pretty much every second he's awake and out of his specialized bed. I, 17, always knew my parents expected me to step up and care for him when they get older. But they finally mentioned it to me a few weeks ago because my guidance counselor wanted us to have some serious talks about college. The summary of that is my parents don't want me to go, have no money for me to go, and won't provide their details for me to get financial aid. My guidance counselor is looking for ways around that, so for now, it's a wait and see what she can find kind of deal. Coming back to my reason for posting. My parents used the request for a meeting with the guidance counselor to tell me that they expect me to become my brother's full-time caregiver when I'm older, and when they're older and can't meet his needs anymore. They said they won't see him be neglected, abused, or worse in a care facility, and that there's a lot of SA going around these homes, and I should protect my brother from that. They asked me what would happen if some awful nurse used him to get pregnant or something, and then a baby was brought into it because my brother can't stop her or tell anyone. They said I need to focus on learning all I can to take care of him because maybe I can't find a partner who wants to take on my brother, and I need to be able to leave anyone I'm dating to take over the role, caring for him when that time comes. They said I can't trust someone else to be willing to do it, because it's going to mean lots of sacrifices and people are selfish. I told my parents I want my own kids. I want my own family, and being the caregiver for my brother would stop me from doing that. I said it already, stop them from being involved for me, and I don't want that for my future kids. My parents accuse me of not loving my brother and of being just as selfish as the majority of humans who'd rather see a person who already exists suffer and be treated like shit than take care of the family I already have. They said a good brother would be up for the challenge and would give him the best care until he passes. I asked if they were leaving me a lot of money to do that, and they said they hardly have any money. So I told them they want to leave me struggling to feed myself, just to care for him too, and it pissed them off more, because they said I was making it all about me, and being self-centered. Am I the a-hole?
Am I the a-hole for telling my recently divorced sister to stop moping and get a job? I, F24, am in a tricky situation with my family. I think I'm doing the right thing, but everyone's acting like I'm being a villain. I live in a house with my parents and grandma. All of us work full-time, except my grandma who's retired. I pay rent to contribute towards utilities and help my parents with their mortgage payments. I also pay the internet bill, streaming subscriptions, and phone bills. My younger sister, Holly, F22, moved back into the house around 4 weeks ago. She got pregnant at 16, and at 17 she moved out into her boyfriend's parents' house. They got married as soon as they were both 18 and now have 4 kids. In the summer, they moved out of his parents' house and into a rental house. They ended up fighting a lot over disagreements on how the household chores should be split and some various other issues to do with the house. They soon separated and their divorce is in progress. Holly came back here, and her ex moved back in with his parents and took the kids with him. Holly sees them for a few hours on weekends and seems fine with this arrangement, much to my parents' dismay. I don't have an issue with Holly being here, and I know she needed somewhere to stay and her family's support. My issue is that she has spent this whole time moping around the house, scrolling on TikTok all day and going out with friends. She doesn't clean up after herself or help out with any household chores. She has never had a job, been a stay-at-home mom with the kids, and keeps saying she will get one but hasn't even started job hunting despite me and my brother writing a resume for her. My parents have been paying for all her expenses. One of my friends is a manager at a cafe and she told me they were hiring, and that Holly could get a job there if she's willing to learn how to be a barista. I told Holly about this and she immediately shut me down and said that she won't work in a cafe because it's embarrassing and she doesn't want to work early mornings. This turned into an argument because I couldn't understand why Holly would turn this down and feel like she is just being lazy/picky. I told Holly she can't just mope around the house all day every day and she needs to get a job or think about college. Holly told me to F off and that it's her life. My parents got involved and told me that it's not been that long since the separation and that I can't expect Holly to be happy and normal. They said that she needs time and that my expectations of her are too high. I think they are being too soft on her and she needs to stop acting like a teenager. Am I the a-hole?